Hello, this is Ben Gassier with DashBoard, and today I'm going to show you how to use the visual language feature to control your switcher. Let's jump right in. I have a Carbonite here, and I want to control it with a custom panel. I want to create a panel, and on that panel I'm going to put a button. And I want that button, that when it's pressed, it's going to do a transition. So let's do that. So File, New, Custom Panel File. And we're going to call it Carbonite Control, and click on Finish. So we now have our panel. Now the easiest way to add the Carbonite to the list of things that this panel can control is simply by dragging and dropping something from the Carbonite onto that panel. So let's do that. Let's open up the configuration of the Carbonite. Let's go into the network. We're going to drag this all the way to the right so that we can split our screen. In the Carbonite panel, I hit Control-G, and I'm going to just drag and drop the IP address right into my panel, and hit OK. We're done with this Carbonite panel, so we can close it. In our custom panel, we're going to create a button that'll do our transition. So let's create it right here. We're going to give it the name Do Transition, and we're going to give it an ID, Do Transition. Always give your elements IDs. Now, when I hit this button, I want the Carbonite to do a transition, but we need a bit more information. We need to know on what ME we're going to do the transition, and maybe we need to know how many frames that transition will take. So let's add in a couple of parameters. So they're both numbers. First, let's do the ME. So I'm going to click and drag a number parameter here. We're going to create a new parameter called ME number. It can go anywhere from 1 2, 3, and we're going to make it one of these spinners. Now the second one we need is how many frames will this transition take. So let's make that number a bigger element. We're going to create a new parameter. We're going to call it the transition rate. And it can go anywhere from 0 to say 500. And we'll make it one of these nice sliders. Okay. So we now have all the elements we need, and when we press this button, it'll do a transition on this ME with this rate. We could add labels to all of this as well to make things clearer. So we're going to save this, and now we're going to tell it what happens when we press the button. So we hit Control-G, we double click on the button, and we'll get a list of all the tasks that this button does. At this point, there are none, so let's add one. So on the left here, you will see the parameters that we've added to our panel and the equipment that we've added to our panel. And in this case, there's only the Carbonite. And that's all we're going to use today to create our script. So when we press that button, we want a transition to occur. So let's look up the word transition. This will show us all the things that have to do with transitions. And in the API, you can see that the Carbonite has several methods for transitions. So let's start dragging some of these in. We can tell it what to include during that transition. What keys, whether to do the background or not. We can set the transition type, whether it's a dissolve, a DVE, a media wipe, or just a wipe. We can set the rate at which the transition will occur. And then we can perform the transition. Now the order in which these blocks occur is important. We need to do the top 3 blocks before we do the perform transition. So let's connect them up in that order. So we'll grab the arrow and drag it down. We'll grab this arrow and drag it down. We'll drag this arrow and drag it down. And this basically tells it, let's do this one, then we're going to do this one, then we're going to do this one, then we're going to do this one. Now in this case, if we left it like this, everything would happen on ME number 1. But we want it to happen on the ME we've specified in our panel. So let's clear the search, go into our parameters, and drag in our ME number. Now that ME number needs to go into these numbers. So we just drag and drop the ME number into all of these numbers. Now the other one we want is the transition rate. We want to set the transition rate to what we specified, not to 15. So let's grab the transition rate, and that one's going to go into this one. Boom. Now once we're happy with our script, we can just auto-arrange it. It'll make it a little bit easier to, or more compact, so that you can see it easily. And that's it. We now have our script that'll decide they'll set what occurs during the transition, what type of transition is occurring. It'll set the rate to wherever we specified on the panel, and then perform the transition, all on the ME number that we specified in our panel. So if I hit OK, apply and close, Control G. Now, if I want my transition to occur on ME3, and I want it to take 125 frames, and now if I hit Do Transition, my Carbonite is now transitioning on ME3, and it's taken 125 frames. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Bye.